Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show that covers all things marketing. The GSMC Marketing News Podcast gives you the latest marketing news, from what major businesses have planned for the coming year to the newest trends in advertising, from podcasts, digital and streaming, to the old standbys of radio, television, and billboards. Whether you're a marketing agent or a business trying to expand your brand, you've come to the right place. The GSMC Marketing News Podcast starts now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie, and on tonight's episode, we are talking about beauty and the marketing of the beauty industry. So I'm sure a large majority of you that are listening to this podcast are women, and I'm sure the large majority of you women that are listening use makeup. I use makeup on a daily basis. I buy it on a monthly basis. In fact, today I actually spent $40 getting makeup delivered from Target to my home. Actually, that's also a very interesting topic that maybe we should explore on a different episode of the podcast, but the complicity and the ease of ordering online, especially from retailers such as Target, and how they do make the beauty industry more accessible to everyone. You don't need to go somewhere to a high-end retailer. You don't need to go to like a beauty counter somewhere. Target really does allow you to order those beauty products straight from your home. So maybe that is a conversation for another day, because today what we are talking about is the beauty industry. We're going to go over some stats and facts about the marketing and how they market their products. But then I have a couple of strategies that they have used over the past hundreds of years, just to really get you thinking about how, even if you aren't in the beauty industry, although if you are and you are listening to this podcast to get some ideas, you will definitely get some ideas. But even if you aren't, this podcast is going to really talk about how you can use those strategies in your own marketing. Even if you sell bedding, even if you sell trucks, there is still something to learn from the beauty marketing world. So we are going to talk about all that and more on today's episode of the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. Before we get started, I would really just love to ask a few things of you, dear listener. Number one, if you could please hit that subscribe button. Number two, if you could please rate and review this podcast. I think a lot of people underestimate the value of their review, so they don't leave one. They think, oh, the host is never going to look at this. Oh, it's never going to impact the show. That is the complete opposite with this podcast. I would love to hear from you guys. I would love to hear your comments, even if they're bad. Guys, I'm a big girl. I can take it. So even if your comments are bad, even if you have negative feedback, even if you want me to talk about something less or talk about something more, don't worry about hurting my feelings. I really do just want that information, that level of feedback. And if you have nice things to say, even better. I love hearing nice things. I'm not a robot. I would love to hear some nice comments. So if you could just please do that, subscribe and rate and review, it would mean the world to me. It really does help us organize and create better content for you guys who you're listening. I want to create the type of content you want to hear. So that would just mean a lot to me, and I thank you in advance. Before we get into the beauty and the marketing world around the beauty industry, let's talk about what is new in the marketing world. Now, just as a preference to everyone listening, there's COVID-19 stories, okay? I'm not going to lie to you. We are in the thick of it right now, so of course a lot of our stories are going to revolve around that. I tried my best. I am deeply, deeply sorry if you don't want to hear about this, but it is happening right now. It is affecting the marketing world. So when we talk about the news stories, of course it is going to come up. However, some of these things are actually, I don't want to say good things are coming out of COVID-19, but interesting things. And interesting things in the marketing world are definitely coming out of COVID-19. So that's really what I tried to focus on when I look for news stories. Our first news story is that Disney is making the classic 1973 Robin Hood film as a CGI Disney Plus exclusive. So Disney's 1973 classic animated film Robin Hood is the latest movie to get a live-action remake in the Disney roster. This one, however, is going to go straight to Disney+, whereas some of the other famous remakes that they have done over the past few years all went straight to theaters. Carlos Lopez Estrada, best known for directing the 2018's Blind Spotting, will take on the Robin Hood remake. Kari Granlund, who wrote Disney's recent Lady and the Tramp live-action remake that also went straight to Disney+, is also on board to put pen to the script. It's unclear when Disney is looking to start the project or when it will be released, but production around the world has shut down as people and social distancing to the curb spared to the novel coronavirus. So obviously we cannot expect it to start any day soon. However, it is very interesting to see Disney already planning their big movie releases around the coronavirus. Obviously, this film could have been a major theatrical release, but I think Disney is seeing the side of not every film has to be a theatrical release. They have already had to pull quite a few movies from theaters to put them on Disney+, or some movies that were released during the coronavirus were immediately put on Disney+. So I think we are really starting to see them utilize their streaming platform. And I remember months ago when I first started reporting on Disney Plus and about the streaming service, they were really sort of trying to downplay the part it would play on the company as a whole. They talked about it being the smallest segment that they owned. It wasn't really getting a lot of attention. It obviously was a big deal. I'm not saying that, but it wasn't as big as their theatrical releases. However, I think with the announcement that Robin Hood will be going straight to Disney Plus, I think that is a sign that they are starting to pivot their marketing strategy for the streaming service. Our second news story is that Netflix promises subscribers it won't run out of new content while people are stuck at home. The company is confident that it has had enough content to last throughout 2020 without having to move around much of its slate to reduce the speed of its releases. Ted Sarandos, the company's chief content officer, said in a statement, "Our 2020 slate of series and films are largely shot and are in post-production stages in locations all over the world, and we're actually pretty deep into our 2021 slate. We don't anticipate moving the schedule around much, and certainly not in 2020. Netflix recently acquired the Lovebirds from Paramount and the legendary pictures of Alana Holmes. The company is also raising $1 billion for content development, including the use of some cash raised for more acquisitions." This story is also very interesting, and again, I find it so interesting that our first two news stories, and guys, obviously there are plenty of news stories to pick from, but I try to pick news stories that it seems like multiple publications are talking about, it seems like the marketing world is talking about, and both of these stories were way up there. People were very passionate about both of these, but it is interesting to see these two competing streaming services have different approaches to how they're handling COVID-19, but they are still using similar marketing strategies. So Disney Plus, as we saw before, they're planning to release all of their content now on Disney Plus. They are getting content going. They're talking about new releases, whereas Netflix is actually taking a bit of a different approach. They're taking a step back and saying, hey, we have enough content to last us through the year. We're not going to make any big announcements. Stay tuned. You'll figure it out. We'll release it when we release it. Don't worry, you will not be bored. So two very different strategies, but two, I hope, very successful strategies. It definitely does make me interested to see what Netflix will be coming out with. Perhaps they have acquired some shows that we are even unaware of right now. One of the big shocks was them bringing back Community this past month. So they definitely do have a few tricks up their sleeves, and I am definitely excited to see what will happen next. Our third news story of today is that Amazon is developing its own coronavirus test for workers. CEO Jeff Bezos, in his annual letter to shareholders, that regular testing for every industry is needed to both keep people safe and help get the economy back up and running. He said that for that to happen, society needs vastly more testing capacity than is currently available. He assembled a team of Amazon employees from various units to create new tools to test for COVID-19. Jeff Bezos also said Amazon will begin testing small numbers of employees soon. He said in a statement, "We are not sure how far we will get in the relevant time frame, but we think it's worth trying and we stand ready to share anything we learn." To accelerate our response to price grouping incidents, we created a special communication channel for state attorney generals to quickly and easily escalate consumer complaints to us, Bezos continued to say. This is a very interesting story because I think Jeff Bezos and Amazon are a crucial part of our response to COVID-19, and they are a crucial part of how we are dealing with this pandemic. And so their marketing and their responses to the community have definitely been something that I, as a marketing podcast host, but also myself as a consumer, I've been paying attention to because it is so fascinating that they are the company we are turning to. I want to see how they are responding to this amount of weight and pressure being put on them because we kind of are seeing them as our life raft. And whether or not that is needed is totally up for debate. So it is always very interesting to see when they release statements such as this. And it's also interesting to see how they are developing their COVID-19 test and if it is going to be successful. Okay, everyone, we are going to go ahead and take a short break from the podcast, but when we come back, I have 20 different stats and facts for you about the marketing in the beauty industry. So stay tuned for that because you are listening to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie, and I'll be right back.
You really can't underestimate the importance of having the right creative work for your brand or your product. Whether it's a logo, a website, a book cover, or an ad campaign, you really need a quality design to make that big difference pop and deliver your overall engagement and success in a competitive market. That's where Design Crowd comes in. Design Crowd has over 750,000 designers from Sydney to San Francisco ready to help you with awesome creative ideas. They make crowdsourcing work for you. So if you need a logo or you're working on your creative branding, you can go to designcrowd.com and post a brief describing the design you need. And then within about 2 to 7 days, you'll receive up to over 100 different designs from designers around the world. Then you pick the best design and approve payment to the designer. So you're only paying for the design that you want. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of freelancing and out of crowdsourcing. And you don't have to be a huge company like Harvard Business School to use Design Crowd, although they have used it as well. You can start a project on Design Crowd for as little as $99. And if you go right now to designcrowd.com/health and wellness or enter the promo code health and wellness on their website, then our health and wellness listeners will receive up to $150 off of your design project. That's designcrowd.com/health and wellness or entering that promo code health and wellness.
Golden State Media Concepts Technology Podcast covers everything tech. The hottest mobile phones, tablets, games. We review it, rate it, test it. Whether you're Microsoft or Apple, Android or iPhone, we'll give it to you again and again, black and white. The Golden State Media Concepts Technology Podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquish, and on tonight's episode, we are talking about the beauty industry. And I think the beauty industry is such an interesting topic, one, from a marketing standpoint, but we'll get into that later, but two, just from the standpoint of I think it is something everyone has an opinion on, which might seem really crazy because you're thinking, of course, not everyone has an opinion on the beauty industry, but the truth is that you can start up a conversation with someone, asking them their thoughts on these no makeup ads, what they think of this makeup ad, what they think of this makeup product, how much do they think it costs, what beauty person recommended it to you. There's always a conversation around the beauty industry. And what is also very interesting, and we'll learn about when we get into these stats and facts, is how much it has grown and changed and how their marketing has had to grow and change with it. Because obviously a product such as a beauty product and makeup and fragrances and lotions and bubble baths and all that are going to change with the time. Trends are going to come in. Influencers are going to come in and change everything. They are going to completely change the game. So it's very interesting to see how some of these really big companies, some of these tentpole companies that have been holding up the beauty industry, it's very interesting to see how they have changed over the past 20 decades, how they have changed their marketing strategies and the types of products they have introduced to try to keep up with the trends. So we have 20 stats and facts for you here, but before we get started, again, I reminded you at the top of the podcast, but just as a second poke, because I'm so annoying, I know, but please remember to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. It would really mean a lot to me. All right, let's dive right into these 20 stats and facts. Number one, the popular L'Oreal Paris True Match Foundation has been present on the market since 1994. Guys, that's making this product almost 26 years old. Number two, 62% of teens say that they search for products online before they buy it. Number three, Sephora was the leading beauty retailer in terms of sales per store in 2015. No wonder, because one tube of lipstick at Sephora is like an entire month's worth of rent. So that makes complete sense to me. Number four, the beauty industry statistics from 2019 suggest the Ulta is now the leading beauty retailer in the U.S., beating Sephora. Number five, according to the reports on the beauty industry statistics from 2018, the European market grew by 1.3% in 2017, reaching 77.6 billion euros. The UK ranks the top globally for facial skin care production. Number 7, India's cosmetic market is expected to exceed $20 billion by 2025. Around 70% of men spend 20 euros or less on grooming products each month. I think this was an important statistic to throw into the podcast because although that is a small number, especially for us ladies out there listening, we know we spend a lot more than that a month. We understand, we feel that pain, but it is interesting that the men or the people who don't wear makeup are not completely boxed out of the beauty industry. They are still spending money. They are still investing. They are still giving their time and effort and energy and paychecks into this industry, even if they aren't going to Sephora and buying $30 lipsticks. Number 9, the cosmetic industry statistics from 2018 reported that the U.S. perfume sales reached more than $6.1 billion annually. This was also very fascinating because obviously when we think of the beauty industry, my mind immediately went to mascara, foundation, primer, powder, all of that stuff. But the beauty industry really is so much bigger than that. And it's things like, again, the men's products, just general body care products, and again, perfume, which reached $6.1 billion annually in the U.S. That is crazy, but also it makes total freaking sense. It's just crazy to hear the numbers for sure. Number 10, the number one beauty company in the cosmetic industry is, drumroll please, L'Oreal Paris with $27.2 billion in annual sales. That is a crazy number. Of course, number one, I expected it to be L'Oreal Paris, especially with their makeup like we talked about at the top of Stats and Facts being around since 1994. So obviously they are a landmark in the beauty industry. Obviously they are a company that has stuck around. They understand how to pivot their marketing strategies. They understand how to change ideas and introduce new products, but keep old products and not get rid of things that people seem to really enjoy. But $27.2 billion in annual sales, that is unbelievable. And it really does make you wonder what the other companies are making and if there is a ceiling to break here, and if L'Oreal Paris has broken that ceiling over and over again. And also really just to take a deeper look, if you go later and you want to look at examples of all of these marketing campaigns that they have done, definitely check out L'Oreal Paris, because obviously they are doing something right with $27.2 billion in annual sales. Number 11. Statistics from 2017 revealed that Chanel No. 5 has been the best-selling fragrance in the UK for the past 25 years. So we talked about how the perfume industry in the US reached more than $6.1 billion annually, and obviously in the UK it would be similar, you could imagine. They do definitely have a little bit more high-quality taste. The Queen does live there. But Chanel No. 5, much like L'Oreal, is definitely one of those companies that they've been around for so long. They really understand their marketing, and they really understand their product and what their customers like about their product. And they definitely know well enough not to get rid of their perfume, especially Chanel No. 5, that has been around and has been the best-selling fragrance for the past 25 years. That is the same as the L'Oreal makeup we talked about earlier. So it is definitely something that is a landmark in the beauty industry. It is something that we all point to as an example of a product that has really stood the test of time in the beauty industry. Number 12. Industry trends from 2018 showed that 70% of men say that they use sunscreen or suntan protection. This was another statistic I wanted to throw in to, again, really try to nail in the idea that the beauty industry isn't just mascara or brushes or foundation. It isn't just for women. It isn't just for people who want to know how to do a contour, who want to wear mascara. The beauty industry really does dip their hands in a lot of different areas so that they can appeal to a lot of different audiences, aka so that they can appeal to men, women who don't wear makeup, boys who do wear makeup, all of the categories. They really want to make sure that they own that world, and they want to make sure that they are touching all of those different audiences. So this is just another example to show that obviously you may not think you're buying into the beauty industry, but you are. Number 13, the beauty industry's worth has been estimated about $532 billion in 2019. Let me say it again for the people in the back who missed it. $532 billion is what the beauty industry's worth is today. That is unbelievable. And I mean, I'm sure so much of that is, again, buying $20 lipsticks from Sephora. But it really is just incredible the amount of energy and effort and money and time that is spent in the beauty industry. And obviously with $532 billion in sales, that's what it's being worth, that means something. That means there is something to learn here. That is why we are talking about it on today's podcast. That is a crazy number that we would be crazy not to talk about. Number 14, 21% of Americans are buying organic makeup. This is something I really, really wanted to talk about because it also shows the shift in the market and how people aren't just buying the same things they were 25 years ago. That there are some products like Chanel No. 5 and the L'Oreal Paris foundation that will stand for the next 25 years, the next 100 years. But the beauty industry needs to change. The beauty industry is changing. They are pivoting. They are making strides to fit with their current demographic because 21% of Americans want to buy organic makeup. They care about what they are putting into their skin, into their bodies, and on their face. So it definitely is changing, because I can tell you my grandma used some pretty disgusting makeup to put on her face, and she did not care. So it is very interesting to see how the world of the marketing and the beauty industry is shifting by just products alone, and also their marketing for those products. Number 15, the global beauty industry is worth over $500 billion. Number 16, there are almost 1 million employees in the service segments of the cosmetic industry. Number 17, 51% of consumers want to see images that are not photoshopped. This is something that is so critical in the beauty industry, because for so many other industries, let's just use the restaurant industry as an example, because it is such a good example for this. The restaurant industry, particularly the fast food industry, they use plastic food on their ads. If you see a McDonald's burger on an ad, it is made out of plastic instead of the real burger. But in the makeup industry, they can't really do that. Or at least the 51% of consumers don't want them to do that, which is completely understandable, because this is going to sound so weird. You're not expecting your McDonald's hamburger to stay perfectly still the entire time you eat it. Like, it's going to fall apart in your hands. It's going to, like, ketchup and mustard. It's all going to fall apart together. It's going to fall apart in your mouth or on your plate or in your napkin. But your foundation and your mascara and your eyeshadow and all of that needs to look the same on your face as it did on the model's face in the ad. So the 51% of consumers that want to see that aren't in the wrong. They need that information so that they can make an accurate purchase for themselves. Number 18, women in the USA spend around $3,000 on cosmetics annually. That really puts it in perspective when earlier we found out that it was like 20 euros a month for men. Let's think about that for a minute. That's kind of crazy. Number 19, 48% of millennials say they would purchase products with CBD oil for skincare. So that's, again, the market is changing. The beauty industry needs to change with the market, and this is another example of that happening. Finally, number 20, 4 out of 5 American women follow beauty industry trends and regularly use fragrance products. This is so important, because that really means that only 1 out of 5 women aren't following those beauty industry trends. They're not following the marketing. That doesn't mean they're also not buying the products, guys, and that's really important to remember. The beauty industry is such a huge and integral part of marketing, I want to say. It is insane the amount of money, time, and energy that is spent in that industry, and all of it really does boil down to marketing. It is the 4 out of the 5 American women who follow the beauty industry trends, and they regularly use fragrance products that are pushing that marketing, that are promoting that marketing, and that are really creating the need for the marketing. So we are going to take a short break from the podcast, but when we come back, I have 6 marketing strategies that the beauty industry uses to get those 4 out of the 5 American women to listen to them. Because you can hook them in all you want, but you got to listen to them, and you have to make them listen to you for 25 years, like Chanel number 5 did, and it is possible. And again, I really want to remind everybody who's saying, maybe this episode's not for me, maybe I'll wait till next week's episode. No. Let me tell you right now, this episode is for you, because it does not matter if you run a makeup company, or you run a soap company, or you make coffee, or you make beer, whatever it is. You could make plumbing equipment, and this podcast would still work for you. These 6 strategies we'll be talking about next really are focused, they're taken from the beauty industry, but they're focused on making your marketing better. So stay tuned for all of that more on the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquish, and I'll be right back.
I want to talk to you guys about this amazing product I've been using lately called Hydrant. If you're like me and you want to kick the coffee habit, but you're worried about your energy levels depleting, To avoid the morning sluggishness and that midday slump, you need to make sure you're hydrated. It's super important. And that's where I've been using Hydrant. And for 25% off your first order, you can go to drinkhydrant.com and enter promo code GSMC at checkout. Hydrant is basically flavored electrolyte packets you mix directly into your water to make hydrating your body easy and delicious. And what I love about Hydrant, it's backed by research. The formula was developed by Oxford scientists to provide perfectly balanced, efficient hydration. Again, that's drinkhydrant.com and enter promo code GSMC for 25% off your first order. Another really cool thing about Hydrant, there's no synthetic colors or artificial sweeteners. The formula is vegan and you can choose between 3 different flavors or a variety pack. So for all my vegan friendly fellows out there, this one's for you. Again, this is drinkhydrant.com and enter promo code GSMC.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie, and on tonight's episode of the podcast, we have been talking about the beauty industry, but that actually reminds me, the GSMC Beauty Podcast has been my most recent favorite listen. I am obsessed with the show. I absolutely love it. And this isn't just me promoting the GSMC Podcast Network because, one, they are a fantastic network. I love working for them. I love listening to them. It is amazing content, and it is all generated by people who are genuinely so in love with creating the type of content they've been assigned to. Like, I love marketing, and the host of the beauty podcast loves the beauty industry and beauty products, and fantastic podcast. Absolutely love it. If you haven't listened to it, go check it out, but also go check out any of the other amazing, incredible, fantastic, terrific, creative podcasts that are on the GSMC Podcast Network. We are constantly making content. We are here on a consistent basis, and we are here to stay. So definitely go check us out. If you have feedback for any of us across the board, but especially for me, if you have feedback about the episode, if you have a positive thing to say about the episode, I would really love it if you just plopped down there in the reviews and wrote a review. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know what you're feeling. And if you have something negative to say, that's okay. If you have something positive to say, that's great. Especially right now with the current pandemic that is like searching the world, you are definitely looking for content, and you are definitely looking for a place that is going to give you that consistent, give you that engaging content. And let me tell you, the GSMC Podcast Network is that place. We are your saving grace. Go listen to a podcast, go listen to 20 podcasts, and you are still going to find new content that you find interactive and that you genuinely find entertaining. So I highly recommend going to listen to the beauty one, the tech one, the book one is also amazing, and yeah, just so many others. If you've listened to one that you've really been loving, and don't worry if it's not the marketing one, but reach out through social media as well. Let us know what you're liking. Let us know what you're loving and what you're listening to, because we'd really love to hear from you guys, and we'd love to hear your thoughts on our network. So definitely let us know. All right, so now that we are back from our break, before the break, I gave you 20 different stats and facts about the beauty industry and their marketing and how they've really changed and pivoted over the past, 20 decades, but also how some things have really stayed and were the test of time for the past, 2 decades. There were products on there that were 25 years old that were still thriving and we're still the number one fragrance, like Chanel No. 5. So definitely very interesting to take a look at the beauty industry, broken down into numbers, broken down into audience segments, because that's not really something we think about on a day-to-day basis when we think of the beauty industry. We think about what is now, what is current, and what is happening. But when we talk about it from a marketing perspective, it is really important that we take a look at it through the past couple of years and we try to really just break it down into the numbers. So now that we are back from our break, I have 6 different marketing strategies that I took from the beauty industry. I took from beauty industry examples, and I am giving them to you oh so generously because I think they could really work for any industry. You might be a coffee company. You might make clothing. You might make car parts. I don't care what it is. You might just make money. You could be one of those businesses where no one knows what you do, but you make money. I do truly believe you could use these 6 strategies to help boost your marketing, to help give you a creative push in the right direction, and maybe to help plan out some stuff while you're stuck in this pandemic. Because what a better time to do marketing than right now. All right, so number 1. The potential of content marketing is huge in the beauty industry, but also in your industry. So especially, though, for the beauty industry, like I said, if you do make beauty products, I would be giving you some ideas on here as well. The beauty industry is so great when they take their products, they have their products at their home, their ambassadors have them, and they just start making content for that product. One tube of mascara could give you an Instagram live video, could give you a YouTube video, could give you a series of photos, could give you some tweets, it could give you a Facebook live, it could give you even a TikTok at this point. One tube of mascara. There is a huge potential for content marketing, especially right now. If all you have is your product, if all you have is your one bag of coffee and your cell phone, you can unleash that power of content marketing on everyone who follows you, and you're going to get more followers, you're going to engage more people, and you are going to sell that coffee because you're making content out of your product. You are showing people how to use it. You are showing people how you use it. You are showing people how they can use it. You are showing people alternative uses for it. Maybe they never thought about making iced coffee with your coffee beans, and then you show them how to do that. You showed them how to do whipped coffee on TikTok. Guys, the ideas here for content marketing are endless, and it's not just for the beauty industry. It's not just for the coffee industry. It is for any industry. And all you need is a piece of your product. You need the actual product in front of you, and your cell phone, or a video camera, or your wife, or your partner's, or your brother's, or anyone's camera, and you can just go crazy with the content marketing because that is something that people love. Number 2, a strategy that the beauty industry uses is taking on micro-influencers, but also large influencers. They really know how to pick and choose which products should go to which type of influencer. So maybe their new release of mascara will go to all the YouTubers who support them and who are their influencers. But they know if they're starting a new holiday campaign, they're going to call on one of their big celebrities to come in and film a commercial and do all the big Hollywood jazz, lights, camera, action advertising. But something that you can use, and again, it is harder to do right now with the pandemic, but if you can get your product to your influencer, big or small, then they can really start using it and really start working with you. And here's why you want to do that. They are your key into the world of your customer, because your customer, they want to trust you. They do. They really want to. You seem like a stand-up company who has some really great ideas that they really want to trust. But they don't know you. They don't know your life. They don't know all the hard work it took to create that product. But they do know Michelle Jones. I just made that name up. I'm sure there is a Michelle Jones in the world, though. She probably is an influencer. But they do know her life. They know her vlogs. They see her get up in the morning to get coffee. They see her go to work. They see her clean her house. But most importantly, they see her put on her makeup. And once they see her put on her makeup and she says, I like using this mascara, they're going to like using it too. Now, again, say you aren't in the beauty industry, but you get your influencer a bag of your coffee, and they make their coffee in the morning while filming it, and they're like, I only like Mackenzie's coffee beans. That's what I use every morning. Then they're going to start using Mackenzie's coffee beans. They trust their influencers, and from that trust, you will get their trust. It is a chain of trust that grows. It is a tree of trust that grows. So really make sure that you are reaching out to your influencers, both big and both small. Number 3, collaborate with hotels and spas. So obviously this is something that the beauty industry does, and it also is something the soap industry and like sheets and bedding and so many things you could collaborate with hotels. But if we want to take this outside of the beauty industry and we want to take a look at any product, then really what that strategy is telling you is to collaborate with companies that use your product or companies that could find a use for your product. I.e., if you, again, sell coffee, maybe then you look at local restaurants. You look at local spas. That's a great one, actually, because they maybe serve coffee in their waiting room. And you really try to find partnerships there that will sell your product for you, but you're still going to make a profit off of it. So that's just a really great strategy that, although the beauty industry definitely uses in a huge networking bubble way, you can use it even if you are a small company. You can use it if you are a large company. It really is about collaboration and about networking. Number 4, you need to become the go-to expert in your field. So in the beauty industry world, they have influencers and spokespeople who are knowledgeable about the product. They can tell you things about how the mascara will help your eyelashes if your eyelashes stick together, how your foundation is making your skin oily, how it's making your skin break out if you have dry skin, if you need a matte foundation. They have experts in the field that you can turn to, and whichever brand is going to give you the most amount of information is the brand you're going to trust more. So again, if you make coffee, then you need to be the expert. You need to be the go-to expert in coffee. What coffee is the healthiest for you? What coffee is filled with sugar? Which coffee is going to give me that instant caffeine boost? What is better? What is truly better, iced coffee or frappuccinos? Or is the whipped coffee just a trend, or is it here to stay? Should we all buy a whipping machine and start whipping our coffees in the morning? You need to be the go-to expert in whatever your field is so that you can start building that trust and you can become the go-to expert that if they have a question, they go to you, not the other guys. Number 5, make your marketing relatable. So again, like I said, beauty industries might be like, oh, we're having a big Christmas sale. We're going to go to Keira Knightley to show our foundation. Keira Knightley is not relatable. But you know who is relatable? The micro influencer we talked about earlier. The YouTuber who is going to hold up the product and say, yeah, I use this every day when I go to the gym. And I hate going to the gym. And she's going to rant about going to the gym. But during her rant, she's actually building a relationship with the customers. And she is actually building trust for that product with the customers as well. So you need to make your marketing relatable for whatever your product is to whoever your customers are. Finally, number 6, you need to create a community to build a brand advocacy. So this is really interesting, but it really boils down to the idea of word of mouth. If people like your product, they're going to talk about your product. They are going to talk about how their mom should use their product. They're going to recommend it to their friends. They are going to sell it for you. They are going to be advocates for your brand. So you need to start creating that community, cultivating that group of people who are going to promote your product for you. Okay, everyone, that is it for tonight's episode of the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jakewish, and I'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the GSMC Marketing News Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on SoundCloud, Stitcher, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to any podcast app, and you'll find all of the shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, from business news to weird news, you'll find it all on the GSMC Podcast Network. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.